Welcome to the next episode of the Dark Web Deacon. So let's check our secure connections, adjust our hoodies, and as always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. For today's episode, I want to review Telios.io. It's a peer-to-peer decentralized email client for more control, more privacy, and more security over your email communications. Now, this is not a paid advertisement, unlike most YouTuber sellouts. Telios did contact me asking to pay to review their application. I told them thanks, but no thanks. How can anyone guarantee an honest review for their subscribers if their opinion has been compromised by free cash and free gifts? The trust and integrity I have with my subscribers will always come first.
You truly are incorruptible, aren't you?
In this video, I will go over the basics of the current email systems like Gmail and Outlook and how they work, how Telios.io is different, a quick demo of the installation, pricing and features, and my final verdict. Here is a 60-second crash course on how email systems work. Think of it in three parts. First, there is an email client. This is things like Gmail, Outlook, and AOL. Email clients allow you to compose your message, and they enable you to connect to email servers to send, receive, and store messages. Secondly, there is an email server. This is owned by the email provider, such as Google or Microsoft. Email servers route your messages, store your messages, and may or may not encrypt your messages in communications. And third, there are DNS servers, aka domain name systems, which convert something like Dark Web Deacon at gmail.com into a computer address such as 123.45.87.100. This is key so that internet routers and switches know where to send your message. So for example, the email you send from an email client in California gets to the Gmail server and then forwarded to your grandmother in Italy. So what makes Telios different and special from all the other email providers that are out there? Well, all the other email providers that are out there rely on a centralized system to correlate and synchronize and send and receive all emails. So Gmail or Yahoo or your company's email address, they're all being funneled to a set of centralized servers, meaning that the companies involved have the ability to potentially read any of the content within those emails. Because in addition to having it centralized, the vast majority of the systems do not actually encrypt emails as they pass through their systems. Let us quickly walk through 4 use cases that better illustrate in detail why Telios.io is different than typical email systems. Let's look at scenario number 1. Bob wants to send Alice an email. Both Bob and Alice have mailboxes on the Telios network, and they're both online. This is where Telios.io is the most powerful, by offering peer-to-peer communication with no third-party involvement. After Bob finishes composing his email and hits send, his client encrypts his email and streams it to his local drive. Then, using Alice's public discovery key, Bob sends Alice an encrypted retrieval metadata with instructions on how to retrieve Bob's email. Now, all this happens under the covers and is automatic, so there's nothing you need to do there. Then Alice decrypts Bob's metadata and uses the drive's location and email path to connect to Bob's drive and stream the email back to her client. And then finally, she saves it off on her local drive. So this is true peer-to-peer communication, strong encryption, and no third-party involvement. In scenario number 2, Bob is going to send another email to Alice, but this time she's offline. Bob composes the email as he did before, but this time, instead of being able to send it directly to Alice because she is offline, a small piece of metadata is encrypted and sent to the server. When Alice logs back on, her client pulls the message database on the Telios server to check for emails that were sent to her while she was offline. These messages are encrypted metadata that can only be decrypted by their recipients. Neither Telios or anyone else other than the intended recipient can view those messages. Alice then decrypts the metadata and uses it to stream her email from Bob's drive, and then eventually saves it to her local drive. And then in one final step, Alice then deletes the encrypted metadata off the server to remove any trace of the actual communication. So unlike the first scenario, there is a small window of time where there is some metadata that is stored on the Telios server, but again, that information does not say who's communicating with whom. It is something that only Alice can decrypt to know that Bob has a message waiting for her. In scenario number 3, Bob doesn't have a Telios.io mailbox, but does want to send to Alice, who does. So Bob's email provider sends his email to the Telios mail server. The Telios mail server checks the recipient list for Telios accounts from the email metadata. At that point, if the recipient, in this case Alice, is online, the mail server will stream the encrypted email directly into the recipient's drive. In this scenario, it's important to note that the Telios servers do not create logs of the transaction or store emails in plain text. After the public keys are retrieved, emails in memory are immediately encrypted and streamed to either the mail server's peer-to-peer drive or directly to the recipient if they're online. And in the final scenario, Alice, who does have a Telios.io mailbox, wants to send an email externally to Bob, who does not. So Alice encrypts her email and stores it on her drive. She then sends a plain text email to the API server. The mail server delivers Bob's message via SMTP to his external mailbox. So in this scenario, it's important to note, when sending an email outside of the Telios network, the email will be in plain text to the API server in order for it to be delivered to an external mailbox. So to recap all 4 scenarios, if you want to maximize the privacy and security of your email communications, you need a Telios.io mailbox, and so does your recipient, regardless if they're online or offline. But if you do send a message to someone external outside the Telios.io network, that will be sent in plain text. And so you lose all that security and privacy that you initially had. And as such, your privacy and security is heavily degraded. So let's start the Telios installation. Obviously, the first thing we're going to want to do is set up our account. So you click Create Your Account. You consent to the beta version, which currently exists. T's and C's, of course. And we're going to create our account here. So next we have to set up our password, of course. I prefer to actually use passwords generated from a password manager. So you can see it can't be cracked for, in theory, centuries. Recovery email. So I will default to my Gmail account for this. And next you can download basically your download key, which is your recovery phrase, in case you lose that master password. So I will save that to my folder. And now that we have our recovery phrase stored off, we can move on next, and now we're up and running. So you can see within a matter of about 1 minute, you can have your mailbox up and running. Now that our mailbox is set up, you can see we have a very clean and very basic interface, which provides all the major functionality we need in terms of our inbox, drafts, sent, trash, also the ability to create aliases. So an alias is where you can basically create multiple email names attached to your domain. So for this one, I'm going to create a namespace for an alias, and so I'm going to have my namespace be DWD for Dark Web Deacon, and we hit create. And then from there, I can enter different aliases attached to that namespace. Now that we've set up this alias, again, so all emails sent to the alias will appear in your Telios inbox. So it's a way to create basically multiple email addresses that will all eventually be filtered down to your primary email box. And what's the reason for do this? Well, you could have an alias that's meant more for professional emails and communications. You could have one that's meant for marketing purposes. You could have one that is maybe meant as a throwaway. So we can say like junk is our alias for Dark Web Deacon. So if I'm signing up to any sites on Tor or any type of forums where I really just kind of want it to be a throwaway email because I may get a lot of spam, this is a great option to create that. So this is for like spam emails. And then if there's a forwarding address, you can also add that. But so I will create that. So now Dark Web Deacon, DWD, hashtag junk at Telios.io is an alias email that will also be connected to my Dark Web Deacon at Telios.io email account. So if we're going to compose a message, let's do a basic composition. So we'll put Dark Web Deacon at gmail.com and test. So this is obviously an email that is leaving the Telios network, and we can hit send. So that will connect to the Telios server and then be sent out. So I received my test email on my Gmail account, and I did a reply, 2 quick replies, and they came here literally in within about 30 seconds. So I didn't see any type of latency delay at all. Both were received. I also sent one to the alias, as I mentioned earlier. So this /junk one. So at basically DWD hashtag junk at Telios.io. I sent that to that email address from my Gmail account. And then you can see that it ends up in our alias junk folder. So this is a good way to, again, organize different types of alias emails tied to your main email box for various circumstances. Obviously, you can delete, you can mark them as unread, and you can do the sync. And the sync will basically check against the Telios server. In regards to composing emails, you have a very basic interface. Again, this is a beta version. So you have your 2-line, you can add a CC or a BCC, your subject line. In terms of the formatting of the message, you can change font size, font type. You can, of course, bold, italic, or add underline to this information. You also can bullet and do numbered bullets. You can also add a hyperlink in there. And of course, there's the attachments. And if you don't like what you see, you can of course just either save it as a draft or delete it. And so since I saved it, I went into my draft menu here, and I can at this point decide to delete it. So to go over some of the general features, this icon is for contacts. So because I actually emailed Dark Web Deacon at Gmail, that automatically was added to my contacts list. And you can of course edit, enter information, also delete the contacts if needed. And then down here is your account settings. So basic release notes, support information, and account settings where you can change your display name, which is public. We'll also add a photo and the current billing plan that you have. Mine is free, which includes email sent out of network, which is up to 100. The number of namespaces you get 1 namespace, and you can get up to 5 aliases, and your storage is 2 gigs on the server. Now there are other plans that I'm going to dive into right now. So how does pricing stack up? Well, there are 4 options available. For the free option, you have all the features you need to use the system. There are just a few thresholds in place on a few of the features. One being you can only send out 100 emails out of the Telios network per day. Also, you have a 2 GB file attachment limit. With the free package, you also get only 1 namespace and 5 aliases with some community support. The starter package is $3 a month. There you get a slight upgrade of 5 GB of cloud backup on the Telios network. You also get 500 emails out of the network per day that you can send, and you get 10 aliases and quote, limited support. Not exactly sure what that means. The premium package is $5 a month. There you get 25 GB of cloud backup. You also get unlimited emails out of the Telios network per day. You also can have attachments at this point that are 5 GB in size. And you can have 10 namespaces, which they say is coming in the near future. And finally, the ultimate package is at $8 a month. There, the big difference is you get 1 terabyte of cloud backup storage on the Telios network, and you can also send attachments of unlimited size. And you get 50 namespaces and unlimited aliases. First, I want to give a shout out to those at Telios.io who reached out to my channel asking me to do an honest, in-depth review. So here's 5 things I love about Telios.io. The idea of peer-to-peer email communication is very powerful, and it's really the only way to ensure security and privacy of your email communications. Large third parties like Google and Microsoft are openly reading any and all of your email communications because they're not encrypted, and they're using that data in order to generate profiles and potentially to market to you. The clean interface, it's simple, it's basic. I love that. Also, the speed of the email system seems to be on parity with any major enterprise system, at least at this point. I didn't do a lot of stress testing, but in the emails that I did send, they all were received with limited latency. Fourth, namespaces and alias options are great for small businesses and a good way to organize your email accounts. And the last thing I love is the free option pretty much has everything that you need, and also the yearly pricing packages are reasonable. Telios.io does have a service desk that is available, and I will provide a link in the video description below, so if you do download it and run into bugs, you can report them directly to Telios. Now onto what needs improvement. First, there were definitely some reinstall issues. Every time I seemed to click on the executable, it seemed like it was uninstalling part of the product. Now again, this is a beta release, so there are going to be some bugs. 2, out-of-network email limits are too small for a free package. Limitations need to be higher than 100 emails out of network if you want people to switch who are normal users. Forget about power users. Third is contact list intelligence. Right now, when you go to your contact list, there's nothing there that really marks if that contact is currently online or not. And I think that is one of the important features I would hope to see in the future, because again, the peer-to-peer communication is what makes Telios.io very powerful. And I think what even makes it more powerful would be being able to see if those peer-to-peers are online, so you know that your email is going to go directly to them and not even end up on the Telios.io server. Number 4, search. The ability to look for other Telios.io members, because again, the peer-to-peer piece is what's really powerful. So trying to be able to add other members to your contact list would be a great feature. Number 5, there are some bugs in the display. For example, when I did send email to a specific person within Telios, it looks like they were having some issues with some of their aliases and subdomains. And when I went to the sent field after I sent the email, it just showed up as blank. Again, it's a beta product, so you're going to expect some little bugs like this and some inconsistencies. So in summation, the Dark Web Deacon is rating this beta version of the Telios.io email client a 3 out of 5 stars. The free version is definitely good to play with for some basic email use, especially when you're looking for highly private and secure email communications. You just have to make sure that the other person you're communicating with is also on the Telios.io network. But I don't see it replacing enterprise email systems for small businesses just yet, or if you're a power user. The $5 premium package is really critical if you want to try to have any real-world use, so you're not limited by the number of email communications out of the network or by things like attachment size. Check out the Dark Web Deacon merch store. We have high-quality t-shirts, accessories, and signature hoodies, of course, and become a true Dark Web enthusiast and VIP. New videos are published every Monday and Thursday.